So I really do try to use like credible news sites when I'm doing these stories, but sometimes just the most accurate site to use is actually not the Bee, which is the news arm of the Babylon Bee. So the Babylon Bee is basically the greatest parody site of all time. If you haven't looked at the Babylon Bee, you are missing out. It is amazing. It is so much better than The Onion. I can't even tell you. But they recently launched, actually not recently, I think it was sometime in the past year, but time is meaningless as we all know. But they have this site, notthebee.com, in which they cover real news that sounds like it's parody. So you kind of have to question is this real or is this fake? And last night they covered this story. United Airlines kicks family off flight because 2-year-old wouldn't keep mask on. Folks, this is a completely real story. It's completely real. Let's read about what happened. United Airlines enforced its no-tolerance policy on a family with a 2-year-old girl who would not wear a mask. And it seems like the whole world has lost its sanity and decency. Liz Orban posted a video on Instagram and Twitter explaining that she and her husband and daughter were all kicked off the United Airlines flight and banned for life from the airline because the 2-year-old wouldn't keep her mask on. Listen, this video last night was literally all over my Twitter feed. I really think that like every single person I follow tweeted this video at some point, but it wasn't just this video. There are actually 2 videos in this, and I actually tweeted both of them, so you can go to my Twitter, which is Dr. Carlin B, and find both videos if you want. But there was this video, which was the really popular one, but there was a second video. So what happened in this first video is essentially this mother is, of course, like there's tears coming down her eyes. They've just been kicked off the flight, and then she cuts over. She actually filmed the whole thing. So what happened is they have this beautiful little 2-year-old girl. They were trying to get this young girl to wear that stupid mask, and she wouldn't do it. She would like cover her mouth. She would not do it. So the father actually picked the girl up, put his mask on her, which is one of those things, it's like a neck gaiter that you just kind of pull up over your nose. The father was literally holding the neck gaiter over the child's nose to keep the mask on her face. And the flight attendants still kicked them all off the flight. So this happened right after, but then there's a second video of what happens right after they get off the plane when they're standing in kind of the boarding area, where the flight attendant literally tells them that they have a zero tolerance policy and this family is not going to be allowed to fly on United Airlines anymore because their 2-year-old wouldn't wear a mask. Kicked off and banned for life. That seems like a totally reasonable response. No, it isn't. That's insane. Somebody, anybody, please show me the science behind mandating that a 2-year-old must comply with a mask guideline on an airplane. Come on, listen to silence, people. We are all waiting. By the way, the CDC does recommend that anyone over 2 should wear a mask, but even the CDC is clear on when there should be exceptions. Wearing masks may be difficult for people with sensory, cognitive, and behavioral issues. If they are unable to wear a mask properly or cannot tolerate a mask, they should not wear one. This is according to the CDC. If there are behavioral issues or other issues, then the person, or in this case, the child in question, should not wear a mask. And listen, I don't want to go into all that, but I do want to talk about the airlines for a second, because a lot of people are surprised to see stuff like this. I'm not at all surprised to see stuff like this. In fact, I have seen this happen on at least half a dozen flights that I was on in person since what is it? Since like July. I have seen this happen over and over and over and over again. Listen, you guys know I traveled a lot this year doing the walkaway rallies. When you fly frequently, what happens is you tend to get upgraded to first class. So I actually spent a lot of flights very up close in the front of the plane. And what you see in the front of the plane is what the flight attendants do when no one else on the plane can see them. And so I have seen over and over and over again on American, mostly American, because I mostly fly American. I'm pretty sure I actually saw this happen on Delta too, though. But American is my big pet peeve. I have seen flight attendants on American over and over and over again not even allow families with small children to even board the plane before kicking them off. Just last week, I was coming back from the Trump rally in Georgia, and our flight ended up being delayed like half an hour. Why? Because the plane pulled away from the gate and we were headed out to take off, and then they went back to the gate to kick off a family because a toddler would not wear a mask. This is not new. This is not unique. This happens all the flipping time. And here is why I am extra pissed about this. Let's look at this article from Reuters. U.S. senators say pandemic relief plan would give airlines $17 billion over 4 months. U.S. Airlines would receive $17 billion for 4 months of payroll support under a new $908 billion bipartisan Senate COVID relief proposal, staffers for 2 U.S. senators said on Tuesday. And this was on December 1st, so this is a couple weeks old, but this is still in the bill, guys. This is still there. The partisan group of lawmakers announced a package of $45 billion for transportation assistance, and the offices of Senator Mitt Romney and Mark Warner said the plan includes $15 billion for transit systems, $4 billion for airport, $8 billion for private buses, $1 billion for passengers on Amtrak. Blah, blah, blah. Essentially, what this says is that airlines who have been treating their passengers like dirt throughout this entire pandemic are about to get a $17 billion bailout. Now, they were up for a bailout. The last time they thought that they might pass a stimulus bill, there was something like, I'm going to totally misquote, so definitely fact check me on this one, but it was $25 billion in bailout money was supposed to go to the airlines. Now, that stimulus package never passed, and so the airlines didn't get that money. And I was like, yes. I am completely in favor of stimulus checks going out to average everyday Americans. You know what I'm not in favor of? Bailing out businesses that are treating their customers like dirt, using our taxpayer money to bail out these businesses that they practically, guys, I cannot tell you how much flying sucks now. I really can't. I cannot adequately explain to you how much flying sucks. I loved to fly. I loved it. I loved it so much. I used to fly. I flew all, because I've been traveling for work for years, right? So I fly a lot. I used to love to fly, used to love to be in airports. It was one of my favorite parts of my job. I absolutely hate it now. I hate it. Now, I did it because I was traveling and doing these walkaway rallies, but I absolutely hate being on airlines right now because all of them, universally, there is not a good airline out there. This is not just about United or American or Delta or Southwest or JetBlue, because all of them suck now. All of them. I haven't flown on JetBlue recently, but I know that JetBlue's also kicked off families because toddlers haven't worn masks, but I've flown on all the rest of them. They all suck. They all treat their customers horribly. The flight attendants are acting like little mask Nazis. Do I want my taxpayer dollars going to bail these people out? Absolutely not. And you know what pisses me off even more? You know what's not in this stimulus bill that they've negotiated? Stimulus checks. There are no stimulus checks for average everyday people in the stimulus bill. This is from Forbes. New bipartisan COVID bill would expand PPP, but not offer stimulus checks. So what we have here is people supporting corporatists, supporting businesses who should frankly be allowed to fail. If businesses haven't figured out a way to pivot at this point, then that is their own problem. This is why I have such a problem bailing out the airlines. They're treating the people paying their salaries like dirt. You want people to be treated better? Like they're going to come and spend money. I would be thrilled to spend money at an airline that treated me well and that didn't treat me like I was a pariah that they had to babysit to wear a goddamn mask for the whole entire flight. I'm going to go so far as to say I would pay literally double for any airline ticket that I've had to buy in the last several months. I would pay double for that on an airline that actually treated me like a customer instead of someone that they had to babysit like goddamn chattel. So let's just scroll down. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I just really want to be clear about what is not in the current stimulus bill. What's out? Stimulus checks. Despite calls for another round of stimulus checks, there is no plan to issue a second round of stimulus checks. On Tuesday, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin proposed including stimulus checks worth $600 in the relief package, but in return, further reducing unemployment benefits. These people, and yes, I am including Steve Mnuchin in this and all of the GD Republicans, no one cares about supporting average everyday Americans that have suffered so much this year with so many people losing their jobs, losing their businesses, being in really dire straits. These stimulus checks could have been a lifeline for so many people, especially around the holidays. Like, are you flipping kidding me? I can't stand any of these people. And by the way, we have to remember that Donald Trump said if you sent him a bill that was standalone for stimulus checks, he would sign it right away. Did he get that bill sent to him? No. And it's not just Nancy Pelosi's fault that that bill didn't get sent to him. Like, Nancy Pelosi, you bear a good brunt of the blame here too, but I'm sorry. The Senate Republicans and the congressional Republicans have not done enough. They have not done enough. And one of the things that I think is so sad about, what I think is the really strong possibility that, Joe Biden's going to be president come January is that the American people are going to be left out to dry, man. Joe Biden does not care about the American people. He cares about supporting corporate interests. We can see this through all the people he's picking. Like, this is Obama Part 2, and the American people are going to get completely and totally hosed. And I think it's so incredibly sad. So the last thing I want to say, guys, is don't like as much as I think this sucks, and as much as I think the government who has mandated that you shut down your business and not pursue your livelihood for the past 8-9 months at this point, we should not be looking at the government to bail us out. You have every ability to pick up, start a business, do something online. Make sure that you are doing what you can do to take care of yourself. Listen, I had an entire business wiped out this year. This was going to be my best year ever. I had so much business booked. The month of June was supposed to be one of the biggest month I ever had for my business. It was supposed to pay for my business for the entire rest of the year. All that got wiped out. Why? Because I mostly do in-person training. I did in-person training, in-person retreats, in-person facilitations, keynote speeches, stuff like that. I had this all booked out. And it wasn't because I came out as a Trump supporter that got it wiped out. It was COVID that wiped it out. There's also a little socialist trying to cancel me too. That's another story. But what did I do? I didn't whine. I didn't complain. I pivoted my business to make sure I was offering as much as I could and as much as I felt comfortable with in a virtual environment. And I didn't have a lot of resources to be able to do this. I didn't have a lot, I've heard some people say, well, Carlin, you had all this money that you had to be able to do this. No, I didn't, folks. No, I didn't. But I got up every day and I worked hard and I didn't give up. And you can do the exact same thing. I am not special. You can do anything that I can do. So make sure you're doing for yourself. Make sure you're providing for yourself, putting measures in place. There's so much opportunity available right now. And don't let anyone tell you that you need the government to take care of you. Do I think that they should be sending stimulus checks out? 100%, absolutely, every single day of the week. But don't wait for them to do it. Pick up, do for yourself. You can do anything that anyone else can do. All right, guys, that's all I've got on this one. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. I do almost daily content. I think I'm going to try to get into daily content now that I'm not traveling so much, but I really do try to post almost every single day about news, politics, culture, really whatever I find interesting. If you want to join, please consider subscribing. You can also join my Locals, where you get all my videos ads-free. Locals is like social media for adults. We also don't get censored at all on Locals, so all the subjects I cannot talk about on YouTube, because they'll pull it down or ban my channel, I can actually talk about on Locals. So my Locals information is literally right below me, right down there somewhere, kb.locals.com. Look forward to welcoming you into the community I have on there. That's all I've got for right now. I'll see you soon.